How's everybody doing today? My name is Michael Joseph. I'm an artist, I'm a DJ, I'm an author, and I do a lot of creative stuff, including doing videos here on YouTube. And this is something that I am considering doing as a longer sort of thing. I am thinking about turning this session of the week into a podcast. It is going to be a simple one camera view like you're seeing right now, and it is not going to be any kind of special effects. There won't be any cuts or minimal cuts, but it is going to be kind of some ways of just you and I talking. And today I want to talk a little bit about what advice I would give younger me. And I think more importantly that what I'm going to be talking about today isn't necessarily just the advice that I would give me, but why I would give the advice, because I think it's a lot more important to look at why you're saying something or why you think something or why you would do something as opposed to just doing it. Now, if you're not a person who's a creative person, this is for you too. It's not just for that, but I'm kind of doing it from a person who's creative and have been creative my whole life. So this is more or less just kind of like my point of view. And again, just because you're not a person who's creative doesn't mean that you can't kind of get a little bit out of this, because, you know, we all want to talk to the younger version of us and give us advice or whatever. And that's going to be what this is about. Now, as a life of a creative is not the typical life. So in my opinion, there are some hard choices you have to make, and you have to make decisions of stuff that you're going to keep on the table and stuff that just is going to come off the table or come off the table for a point in your life or something like that. Relationships are not the easiest when you're a creative person, because a lot of people want to live that 9 to 5 life, or the, as I always call it, the picket fence life. But it is not for everybody. So there are things that are going to kind of be in there that I think I would give myself advice about: relationships, money, jobs, etc. Some people are lucky and kind of just bounce into things and do well, but there's a lot of us who don't, and a lot of us had to learn some hard things. And again, this is what I would tell younger me if I was going to do this again. I do, again, the reason the why is in there is because I like to look at things. I just did a couple other videos on this channel where I looked at the cameras I use and my EDC stuff that I carry in my pockets. And I looked at why I carry them, what I did to make them customized. And that's what I kind of want to be about this. So the 3 things that we're going to cover today, and again, in the future, probably going to cover more, but these are the 3 things that I would tell younger me, that as older me, I'm learning, and I wish I would have had this in my life earlier. And the first one is about being forgiving, not just forgiving of other people, which that's important, but being forgiving of yourself. So we all have said and done things that we wish we wouldn't have said and done. And we might have done it so many times, we're just sick of ourselves for what we've done and how we've behaved. But you have to forgive yourself. Now, I am by no means saying that you need to shun your responsibilities. If there's some way you can make something right, by all means, make all efforts to make those things right. Make the apologies, mean it, go out and make the effort. But you have to keep in mind, one of the number one things you have to realize is that you can't make someone forgive you, but you do have a choice of forgiving yourself. So make those efforts on the things that you need to make to right wrong some of the stuff you said or done. But then when it comes to that, you have to forgive yourself. And if there are people in your life that you can't go back and ask forgiveness, let's say they've passed or whatever, do your best with looking at that going, yes, I should have said something. Yes, I should have done something different, but I can't change that now. And you have to forgive yourself now. And I think there's a lot of steps along the way in my life where I wish I would have been more forgiving of things I've said to people, where I just kept kicking my butt over and over and over again about some of the stupidest things. I heard a guy recently on TikTok. He does stuff with the government and everything from psychological stuff to teaching how agents and different things like that to de-escalate situations. And he talks about that you really have to look at things you've done in life, whether you think they were good or bad, and you have to be so forgiving that it might seem delusional. Like, how could you forgive yourself for that? That's what you need to do. You need to be that delusionally forgiving of yourself for things. And I think that is something that can't necessarily be understated, because so many of us, we just hold on to things. We can't let them go. But there is a point where you don't want to keep dragging that heavy bag so many years through life. It is just ridiculous ridiculous. So the simple thing is you may not understand why you did things. You may go through a whole life and not understand, why did I say that? You may never get that answer, but you still have to forgive yourself and say, listen, I'll do what it takes to make it right. But beyond that, I can't necessarily do that. And I'm going to continue to just do my best to let it go. And, if something comes up in life and I need to make a change on that, I go back and I make a change on that. And that's kind of all that is on that. So we're going to go on to the second thing now is you don't have to win to be happy. This world is full of go out and crush it kind of mentalities. It is so full of second place is the first loser and all those things. But that's not necessarily the truth. Life is not a competition. And when you get to the end of life, we all pass at some point. And, the old saying was the person who dies with the most toys wins. Well, that's not reality. That's cute for a t-shirt or whatever. But those who die with the most toys still die. And there's a very good chance if you have a whole bunch of stuff, the people you may be leaving it to may not even want it. There's this whole thing now about boomer generation and what they're leaving to their Gen X kids. And it's stuff like, collections of miniatures and all kinds of stuff that we don't necessarily want. And it's going to continue on that way. Is each generation, you're going to collect things that you think are important. The next generation is like, I don't really want that. I watched that in my family as people passed, that it's stuff that I still value, but it's not something that I was like, I really don't want that in my house, sort of thing. So you don't have to win to be happy. And that means along the way, when you're making your path and you're making achievements, just because you're not the number one at something doesn't mean you can't be happy still doing it. And that's one of the things that I wish I would have told me, that just because I'm not the best at something does not mean that I can't be very, very happy doing it. And I think that would have helped me along the way with a lot of things, to be honest with you. So that would be the second thing I would tell me is that, you don't have to win to be happy. You don't have to be the best to be successful. All of those things. There's so many things in life that I wish I could have looked at a little bit differently. But it is what it is. And that takes us on to the third and final thing for this is one that I personally, wow, this is a tough one for me. Toughing something out just to prove that you can tough it out is stupid and wasteful. Now, I know what people are out there saying, yeah, but I want to prove myself. I can do this. I'm self-supporting. I'm all these things. That's great. Trust me, I'm all for being self-supporting because I'm one of those people saying, I don't need help. I can do it myself. But there comes a point where you tough it out just to prove that you can do it. That can be very wasteful and it can hurt you in the long run. You have to understand your value without all of that. That's the number one thing I talk a lot of people. Don't let someone else, and I'm going to say this again, don't let someone else set your personal value for yourself, because we all go through things and other people are not going to see us for what we maybe are worth. You've probably seen this bouncing around the internet, this little analogy with bottles of water. So if you go to Costco, you can get a bottle of water for about $1. I don't go to Costco, so I'm guessing that's about right. But if you buy it in a bundle, it comes down to that. You go to the supermarket, that same sort of grouping of waters that you would buy, it can make, maybe 50 cents a bottle, but you can still go grab a bottle for pretty cheap. At the supermarket, it's a little less than you go to a bar, and then all of a sudden they need to make some money off of this, so they're going to charge you $2 for that same bottle of water. You go to a restaurant or a hotel, and that bottle of water is now $3. And if you go to some sort of like huge event or get on an airplane or at an airport, they're going to charge you $5 or $6 or $7 for that bottle of water. Now, that's the same water, the same brand, the same everything, but it has a different worth only because of where it is. And a lot of times in life, we judge ourselves. We tough it out at a job for so long just to show that we can do it. And we don't feel valued. It does not mean that you're not valuable. It's that they have set a value on the job that you're doing, not on you doing the job, but the job that you are doing. So I want to encourage you that if you're in one of those positions and you think you have worth more, go out and try to find that place where they value you more. And I'm not saying neglect your responsibilities. I'm not saying quit a job and then default on all your payments. And if you have family to support, I'm not saying doing that. What I'm saying is, if you have the ability to go and see your worth to other people and find another place where your worth is more than where you're at, try that. Do not hesitate to make that leap, that step in the right direction, because I'm telling you, if you have to go off your worth, you cannot let somebody else assign your worth. And that's where I think that whole analogy of the bottles of water come in, is that if you're toughing it out at a job for a long time or toughing it out at something, then I'm going to show them what I'm worth. You're not going to change your worth. That's not reality. I was told growing up, if you work hard, you'll get rewarded. And most of the time I've seen that not happen. I'm going to be honest with you. Most of the time I have not seen that happen. Most people will not see you beyond what they see you. So if you're a friend to someone, they're going to see you as a friend. So if you work for a company and you're not like friends with somebody or something, I know it sounds cliquey and people say, no, it's not cliquey. I put in hard work. I have worth. There is situations where it's like that. But for the most part, you have to sign your worth, and you have to find a place where your worth is fitting to that, because you could do the same job at two places, just like the bottle of water at two places. You could do the same job at two places and get paid differently simply because they value something differently. And that's the best way I can explain that. And those are the three things that I would have told myself, because I would have walked away from a lot of jobs, a lot of people, a lot of relationships, a lot of things that weighed me down, that didn't make me happy, that made me feel worse about myself. And I wish I would have known those things. So this is the three things, and this is kind of how the video I want to be in the future, that I want to do these little like 10 or so minute blog sort of things that I want to be in audio form, to where I'm going to, in the future, submit these to Spotify as an audio podcast. And that's what I kind of want them to be. And that's why I'm filming them the way I am, with the gray background and everything gray, because this isn't gray. This is a special effect. So if I do this, you can see that there's color in that. And I wanted this intentionally to be this way so that it's more focused on the words and the stories and the why. And that's kind of what I want to do with this. So I'm hoping that this develops. And if you guys like it, let me know. I will focus more on this than the other stuff if this is what is successful. This is easier for me to do, just to talk, less editing. I can just kind of get to be me here talking with a few topics and a few touch points. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Please, again, let me know what you think of that. But until next time, take care and God bless. This video is sponsored by immj. For all my print-on-demand creations like t-shirts, mugs, posters, original photos, my book, The Creative Virus, or what gear I use, visit the shops on immj.com or my Amazon, eBay, or Etsy stores.